Welcome back to Toni Told Me. I'm super excited for this episode, guys. But before I get into it, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and make sure you follow us on Instagram and on TikTok if you haven't followed us already. My special guest today, who I've known for a while, is amazing at what she does. Tiwa Adebayo. She is a confidence coach, an award-winning founder. She's got her own book, Confident and Killing It. Tiwa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm excited that you're here. It's a long time coming.
I know.
Long overdue.
And you've been on my podcast, so it's so fun to be on your podcast.
Nice. Full circle.
I know.
Do you want to share anything about yourself that I may have missed out? You recently got married. You had a name change.
Yes.
Yeah, because your followers would have known you as Tiwa Ogunlesi.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun. I'm actually really enjoying married life.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm grateful.
How was all the... I always hear that like changing the docs is a chore and a half. How was that process?
I've not done that yet.
Oh, okay. So you still need to do
I still need to do that. I'm not doing that yet. I think I'm going to wait for my passport to expire and then I'll do it then.
Oh, yeah, that's smart,
yeah, because it's too stressful. And I have to change my Nigerian one.
Yeah.
And I think you have to change the Nigerian one before you change the UK one. Yeah. And it's just, the Nigerian passport office has shown me
Don't even get me started.
Pepe. So I'm just like, you know what? I'll wait for the 10 years to expire, then I'll change it on the documents. But in life, people now know me as Tiwa Adebayo.
Okay, nice. Yes. What have you been up to, Tiwa?
Ooh,
what have I been up to?
Okay, so I had a slow January. Okay. I went to South Africa.
Amazing.
Had a nice holiday. I'm all for Team Slow January because I just feel like the year is always so intense.
Yes.
So like, why do I want to kick off in a rush again? So I'm like, I like a slow January to just like reflect, decide like what energy I'm going to come with. So that was really nice. March has been beautiful, International Women's Month.
Yeah,
so
it's
naturally,
a big month for you.
Yeah, because of the work I do, waking women up to their worth, helping them feel confident. It's been a really busy month with different like speaking engagements, workshops, things like that.
Fantastic. Booked
and
busy.
Grateful. Yes, I'm grateful, but it's also exhausting. So let's not pretend.
So rest in April.
April is my rest month. So
okay. As for me, I've been prepping for my introduction.
Ooh,
I'm having like for those of you who aren't Nigerian, an introduction is basically when the family of the bride meets the family of the groom formally, right?
Yeah.
And there's this an introduction where the groom formally says, I want to take your daughter's hand. I wasn't going to do one, but my mother-in-law insisted, and she was like, culture, we have to maintain culture. And I spoke to my mom and I was like, Mom, what do you think? And my mom was like, my mom's very chill. My mom's like, I'm chill, but if it's important really and it's important to your partner's side of the family, we should do one. So I was like, okay, cool. I mean, it's an excuse to party as well, which is nice. So I've been prepping for, which should be happening by the time this airs.
It would have happened?
No, it would just about to happen. So that's been interesting.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, sorting out bits and bobs for that. And we're having it at my parents' house.
Oh yeah, because that's where it is naturally. Yeah,
exactly. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Amazing. I actually didn't have an introduction because like we've known each other for like 12 years.
You saved a lot of money.
Yeah, so our parents were like, what intro? Like we've been known each other, so let's just chop. Let's just make this happen.
Why didn't he know me?
But it's nice for the cousins to meet each other. Hopefully they can come and things like that.
That's true.
So,
and technically our parents, I've spoken over the phone, but they've never met in real life.
But they can't be meeting for the first time at the engagement, you know?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, and another reason to get a new outfit and look cute, you know, which is the best part of being a bride.
That is exactly the highlight. Forget the man.
Forget the man.
Forget the husband.
It's the looks.
It's the outfits.
Truly, that was my favorite part.
Really? Your outfits were banging. I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, your trad look?
Yeah.
With the sleeves?
Yes.
I remember that.
Listen, it was a time.
Now it's time for Tea Time with Toni, where we get stuck into your dilemmas. We've got producer Anisha here as always in the background with the juicy dilemmas. How are you doing, producer Anisha?
I'm Good. I'm good. I'm
glad.
excited to get into these dilemmas because they look juicy.
Oh, hit us. We're ready.
So the first one says, "Hi, Tony. I just want to say I really love listening to your podcast all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Big up the Trinis. Big up," she says, "big up producer Nisha repping St. Vincent.
Your people.
I can't forget the Vincy people. Sorry, guys. I did actually forget about them a few episodes ago. So sorry. I'd like to hear your opinion on moving on from a breakup that you really thought would have been end game.
Okay.
Especially when you see the person has already moved on. The truth is, I'm 26 and this was my first relationship, and I can't help but feel like my lack of experience is why things didn't entirely work out for the best. I feel like I brought out the worst in him and even myself.
Oh, wow.
I do feel a lot more grounded and less anxious, but I can't help but wonder what could have been.
Thank you.
Ooh.
That's an interesting one. Being in a relationship for the first time, trying to navigate that for the first time and feeling like you messed up or you fumbled it and feeling like you lost the one. Have you ever, like, prior to being with your husband?
Yeah.
Actually, no, you've been dating since you were like...
No, but I've been in other relationships.
But were you ever in a position where you felt like, okay, this could be it, and then it didn't work out? Because I definitely have.
Yeah, like, so I would say my high school crush, like my first, it was like love at first sight. And it was like, we were back and forth. And I really thought like this was the man I was going to marry. But then he liked the idea of me, but not actually being in a relationship.
I see.
So whenever I was single, he would do the most to try and get me. And then once I said yes, he would just completely relax in the relationship and not make any effort. So we were in this back and forth cycle of like breaking up, then he'll beg me, then I'll take it back. Then like, yeah, basically. So
that is so relatable.
I get it, yeah.
Oh my God, I have been there as well. That is a man with an avoidant attachment style. I actually, funnily enough, I wrote about that in my book that's coming out in September. If you haven't pre-ordered it, pre-order it.
Yes.
No fucks given. The Zero Accountability Guide to Getting Over a Boy. It's how to get over a fuckboy. And it there's actually a bit in my book that relates to this dilemma. Like, how do you move on from a breakup when you thought they were the one? So how did you get past the feeling of, oh my God, I thought I was going to marry him. This is it now.
Yeah. I think first thing is in not internalizing it as something being wrong with you.
Yes.
You know, relationships are a learning experience.
Yeah.
And because a relationship does not work out, does not mean you are a bad person or you are unworthy of love. Your actions are not your identity. So for me, I've always separated what happens to me is different from who I am. So you are always worthy of love. You are always worthy of good things. But sometimes you can make bad mistakes. Sometimes things might happen to you that are not in alignment of the dream life that you want.
Yeah.
So I would start off with, first of all, realizing that you are still worthy of love, even though you made mistakes, even though maybe you brought the worst out of him and things like that. And then the question is, what did I learn from this? You can't change the past. It's gone.
Yeah.
He's moved on, and you should too. If we're being honest, right? You can't change the past. What you can do is invest in your present moment now so that you can create a better future for yourself.
Facts.
Yeah,
all it clicks.
Click.
And what you said about like realizing you can't change the past is so key.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are very hung up over trying to control the uncontrollables.
Yeah.
And we stress over things that we had limited control over, or things that sit outside of our remit of actionable things, right? And a lot of us, like you said, identify failing in things that we couldn't fully control.
Yeah.
And we internalize it, it becomes part of our identity. Like you said, like we think, oh, I failed at this because this person broke up with me, without realizing that, okay, when you're in a relationship with another person, it's also about them. It's also about their perspective.
Yes.
And you don't have any control over that.
No, you don't.
So you shouldn't blame yourself. That's actually why my book is called The Zero Accountability Guide to Getting Over a Boy. Because it's not every day hold yourself accountable. Sometimes the other person...
Let it go.
No, it's true. Let it go. Exactly. And I love that you said that. You have really, really hit the nail on the head. And in every failing, there is a lesson.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful to have your first love, your first relationship be the person you spend your life with. But for the majority of people, that's not the case. Because you go through this growth and you go through this evolution where you learn more about yourself, more about relationships, more about interpersonal dynamics. And with each relationship, you do get better.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I don't feel bad for any of my exes, but sometimes I was going to say I feel bad for my exes, but I don't feel bad for any of them. But sometimes I think like, wow, the version of me today with my partner today is so different from the versions of me other people have had.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. You got the like beta version.
Yeah.
Like he got version 2.0. And I got version 2.0. You got like, there was a little work happening there, right? But that's perfectly okay and that's perfectly normal.
And it's exciting,
It is.
right? So, and also you have so much time still ahead of you to be in other relationships.
Yes.
Like you still have so much more of your life to live than life you have already lived. So I think you can get excited now that you're in this new chapter. Now you're single. It's like, what else can you find out about yourself? How else can you grow and transform? Because growth is intentional. You're not just born with a set amount of personality and skills and talent, and then that's it. You have to carry that suitcase with you your whole life. It's like, no, the whole point of growth is like you unlock new things, you learn new things, like you evolve as a person. Yeah. So you're in the process of evolving, and that's fun and that's exciting. So I would say change your mindset to, instead of what have I lost, think of how much more do I still have to gain? And just that alone is so powerful.
That's such a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Where were you when I was going through my heartbreak?
Yeah, I needed you like 4 or 5 years ago.
Right, here now. You're here now. It's all good. Everyone else has you. Thankfully.
Yes.
Producer Nisha, you have another dilemma for us.
Yes, so this is also from another 26-year-old.
Oh, okay.
She said, "Hi Toni, I'm really hoping you will answer my dilemma. I'm 26 and I'm having real confidence issues about how I look.
Okay.
Every time I'm on social media, I feel like I compare myself a lot. And compared to most girls, I just don't feel pretty. I know looks aren't everything, but what can I do to feel more confident?"
Have you ever found yourself in that position where you've compared yourself on social media?
Oh my gosh, that is where my story started from. But it wasn't social media, it was actually my sister. So I'm only like 11 months and 2 weeks older than my younger sister, right? And she is 6 foot. Growing up,
My sister's 6 foot.
I know, what is it with us short older sisters? But yeah, so my sister's 6 foot. She could eat anything she wanted. She was just like one of those just always skinny people, wash but stomach. And then I always struggled with, I wasn't chubby or anything, but because I wasn't one of those eat whatever you want and have skinny legs, I had more muscle, I had more body, and it was just like I constantly compared myself to her and it made me miserable. And this is like in the 90s. So like we didn't have like Instagram like that where I was comparing myself to people on Instagram.
Thank God for that.
I know, but naturally when you are somebody who comparison has kind of like ruled your way of thinking, when you go on social media, it can even expand that. So yeah, I completely relate to comparing yourself. And my mean girl in my head, oh my gosh, she was so mean. She was just like, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough. I remember when I went to post my first ever video on Instagram, when I decided that I want to be a life coach and I want to, just encourage other women to love and believe in themselves, because I was going through that journey. My mind was like, your skin isn't clear enough to be on camera, your voice is too deep, like
been there.
Literally. But I think it's important to realize that confidence is not an absence of fear and self-doubt, right? Confidence is an in-depth belief in yourself and your abilities that you have what it takes to accomplish your dreams and your goals. Okay? So even if you have the self-doubt, even if you're comparing yourself, you owe it to yourself to still take action on that dream or that goal. So even though my mind told me I'm not pretty enough or my skin isn't clear enough to be on camera, I still showed up on camera because my dream was bigger than my insecurity.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I'm so happy you said that, because we often associate confidence with a lack of insecurity, a lack of fear.
That's not what it is at all.
But it's refreshing to hear someone who is a confidence coach say, actually, you're human. Sometimes you are going to doubt yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes you are going to be afraid. Sometimes you are going to worry or compare yourself. But it's about whether you let that engulf you or whether you challenge yourself to take steps when you feel that.
Exactly.
And I guess in relation to this dilemma, what advice might you give to someone who finds themselves constantly comparing themselves physically to other women on social media? Because I can't lie, Instagram is full of bad bees. Like, everywhere I turn.
I went through a stage where I literally sat myself down and told myself, Anisha, you need to unfollow people because it was getting unhealthy, like the way I was like starting to view myself. So I went on an unfollowing spree because I was like, I need to protect my mental health and the way I view myself because I'm actually like fine the way I am.
Absolutely.
And I needed to remind myself, not everything you see on social media is real.
There's
That's the main point. A lot of it is not real. And so you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Just because you see someone's body looking absolutely amazing doesn't mean, one, the body is real. Two, doesn't mean they haven't like touched it up in some way. So now when I scroll through social media, I'm just like, oh, that's cute. But it's like, I'm not, I'm just like, okay, she looks nice. But I'm like, there might be other things behind the scene that I don't know about. But I think for me, the biggest thing was when I realized how helpful my body is in helping me live out my dream life, my relationship with my body changed. So when I realized that, okay, I hated my thighs were chunky. I always said, oh, I have thunder thighs. But then these thighs allow me to walk. They allow me to walk on stage to deliver talks. They allow me to walk to events so that I can run workshops and change people's lives, right? Okay, yes, my voice is deep. It's not actually deep, but it's like, oh, if you're telling me my voice is deep, fine. Okay, well, this voice actually speaks life. This voice actually inspires and encourages. So when I saw that my body is a vessel to help me live out my purpose, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, body. Like, I'm so grateful that I can do these things because of the body that I have. So yeah, I think we have to be aware of comparison. When you see yourself comparing yourself to someone else, catch it, acknowledge it, and then change the narrative because not everything you see is real.
That's such a poetic way to put it. Not seeing your body as like a vessel for validation, but seeing it as a vessel for impact, for purpose, for action, for change, or just personal fulfillment.
Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful. And also I agree with you, producer Anisha, like if you're following people and in following them, they make you feel bad about yourself through no fault of their own, but because you have certain opinions that you are either projecting or it triggers an insecurity, like don't feel ashamed about unfollowing them and unfollowing them with the awareness that, you know what, actually, I can't look at your washboard abs every day.
Yeah.
It's making me feel some type of way. It's too much. I need to just
listen. If I spot a BBL,
get rid.
I went through that period, that like BBL booty envy period, because I am not like a bootylicious person, right? In my family, it's all boobs, all boobs, no ass. And I remember being younger, being in my 20s and thinking, oh my God, like everyone has a butt but me. Like I need to get a butt. Like where do I get a butt from? I need to do this. Like and having that thought and pondering that. And then I think it comes back to kind of what you said and being like, okay, now if I was to get this butt, how will my life change? Like, I might like the way it looks momentarily. Eventually, with anything, you become used to it. The novelty wears off.
Yes.
But does it actually stop me from me not having this huge butt? Does it stop me from doing anything that I actually want to do? And then I was like, no, actually, no. And in unfollowing the girls with the booties, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm in a better place because it's actually very normal to have a different body shape.
Yeah.
It's actually okay to not have a huge bum or to not have huge hips. Like it's perfectly all right. And I remember one time I was like super triggered. I did like a workout video in the gym and then a guy commented underneath and was like, no hip plank.
Stop it right now.
What does that
I
even
can see
mean?
you want to laugh when you say
No, because I have no hips. Like
Yeah,
I would
no
be like,
hip
no,
plank.
I'm done. Get me the BBL.
I can't lie. When I saw that comment, I was like, girl, sign me up.
Dr. Miami.
No. But it's always insecure people that leave negative comments on other people's pictures.
That is
a confident
it.
person who loves themselves is not going to come onto your page and leave bad comments about your body. So anyone leaving you bad comments about your body just is a sign that they're lacking something deeper under the surface.
And you know the hood way of articulating that, right? You know the hood way?
No.
hating hoes ain't happy and happy hoes ain't hating.
Period.
Hating hoes ain't happy and happy hoes ain't hating. That's the whole way. The hood articulation, right?
No, you looking pretty being all hood at the same time. But I love a girl with range.
Right, range, right?
You gotta have range.
Dynamic,
yes.
versatility.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Anyone who is happy doesn't project in that way. And I hope whoever is whoever has sent this dilemma understands that if it's one thing critiquing yourself, and we can find a way to manage that. We can't control other people critiquing us.
Yeah.
And when they are critiquing us, ask yourself, why are they doing this? If they were in a good place, if it was the happiest day of their life, as my partner always says, would this be at the forefront of their mind?
Yes.
The reality
is
that.
Ooh, yes. I remember when he said that. That was a good one.
He'd be spending some jams sometimes.
With that water bottle.
Don't mind him and his Aquafina.
Actually, one more thing on that. So not a psychologist, a plastic surgeon wrote a book in the early 19-something about, it's called psycho-cybernetics. And he was a plastic surgeon and he studied self-worth and confidence. And he wrote a book about it. Wow. Because people would come to him and say, I'm not confident. I don't like myself. Change my nose, change my body, change this. And he would do it. And then 6 months later, they would come back. And even though they had changed externally, the self-doubt, the insecurities were still there. Wow. So they would come back to him and want to change something else. And so he realized that only changing your external appearance does not change how you feel about yourself on the inside. Yeah. So if you want to feel better about yourself on the outside, you have to start from the inside. Wow. Right? Yeah. So he actually did a study with people who he had operated plastic surgery on. And even though initially they felt good, you're right, the novelty wears off. Yeah. And then you're still left with the demons in your head. Wow. No amount of plastic surgery can take out a negative mind. Wow. Right? So you have to work on who you are internally because you're more than your body. Right? There's body, spirit, and soul. There's more to you than what you look like. So work on who you are as an individual. Work on your soul. And then the body, you just realize it's just beautiful just as it is.
This is why she's on this show. That's what I'm saying. This is why Tiwa is here. You see these gems?
I don't know. I think it's you that's bringing this out in me.
No, it's all you. This is all you.
I'm feeling very comfortable and wise today.
I love it. Don't forget, guys, you can send more dilemmas to our inbox, Toni at tonitoldmepod.com, or hit us up via the Instagram page. You could just DM us at tonitoldmepod. Now we are going to get into the juicy bit of the podcast where I can really ask you questions. Okay. I can dig a little deeper. So let's take it back to the beginning. You kind of mentioned this when we were like running through the dilemmas. What made you wake up one day and say, I want to be a confidence coach?
Okay, so 2 things kind of happened around the same time. The first one was, first of all, as a teenager, I was actually really insecure. So my mind was very negative. I had a lot of self-doubt. And even though I grew up in a very loving and caring household, that comparison to my sister, to the people around me, my need for external validation was killing me internally. Wow. So I just thought my mind is my mind. There's nothing I can do about it until I came across the world of personal development. And so when I turned 21, my mom gave me a book called 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. And in that book, he was talking about how growth is intentional. Growth doesn't come with age. You have to decide who you want to become and put in the work to become that person. And that for me was a wake-up moment. And then at the same time, I also realized that my mind is a battlefield of conflicting forces, but I can win the battle and I can program my mind to work for me instead of against me. So I was learning all of this at 21. And so all the limiting beliefs I had about myself, all of a sudden, I started to question it. Right? I started to get curious. I started to challenge them. And that's something a lot of people don't do. So when I started to challenge my negative thoughts, I started to realize that a lot of them were just a lie. Okay, now park that for a second. At the same time, I had a faith encounter where I was studying at uni and I was leaving the study room. And as I was leaving, a girl was coming through. So I opened the door for her and she was holding a guitar and stuff. So she didn't have any hands. And so as I opened the door for her, she was like, oh, hi, I'm about to run a Bible study. Do you want to join? And I had never been to Bible study before. So I was just like, this is giving kumbaya kind of vibe. So it's been a long day. So I was like, oh, maybe next time, hoping that I would never see her again. And she was like, oh, okay, I know you're tired, but when you spend time with God, he gives you strength.
Wow.
And I was like, ooh, okay. So I literally turned around because that drag was serious.
Yeah, you can't walk away from that
You can't
drag.
walk away from that. So I literally turned around and went into the Bible study with her. But anyways, in that session, I started learning about how I am worthy. I matter simply because I exist. Yeah. That when God created me, he said that I was wonderfully made and I was beautiful and all of these things, right? So science and faith were both saying the same thing, that I matter simply because I exist. Right? And my worth doesn't depend on how much money I have, the color of my skin, where I was born, my productivity levels. Yeah. The fact that I am alive and breathing means that I matter. So that was like my wake up moment. And so I was like, okay, if I want to become this woman of my dreams, I have to unpack what's inside of me. So I started writing out my strengths, my passions, my values. I started living intentionally instead of living on autopilot. And then when I looked around, I noticed that a lot of teenage girls were still insecure.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is it almost 10 years later, the same insecurities I had as a teenager, I'm now seeing in the youth group that I was mentoring. And so I was like, no, enough is enough. I need to make a video and talk about how important it is to love and believe in yourself because everybody deserves to have that as a bare minimum. And it breaks my heart when I see, especially women who are insecure and they don't love themselves or they don't know their worth because that's a bare minimum that everyone deserves. Yeah. Confidence is a skill that everyone can build. So it was that moment where I realized that I've unlocked the secret to confidence and it was too good to keep to myself. So I decided that I wanted to share it with the world and then Confident and Killing It was born.
That is a fantastic story. It's almost like, I say to people often that there's this expectation that we find our purpose, but I often believe that our purpose finds us. It's not always direct. It's not always a matter of, you wake up one day, you know exactly what you want to do. Sometimes you are called to do something. And look at the series of events, whether it was crazy. Your mum giving you the book, whether it was Bible study, everything kind of just manifested as a result of all these different interactions you had. Yeah. So on that basis, because what you do is absolutely amazing. I've seen you in action. You are fantastic at what you do.
Thank you, girl.
What is the biggest misconception people have about your job, being a confidence coach?
I think it's what we kind of mentioned earlier, that I have no fear and I have no insecurities. Okay. If you could see inside my head, you would not believe I'm the woman I am today.
Really?
Yeah. Because sometimes it can get really bad. Like, I'm actually human. Yeah. And like I said, confidence is not an absence of fear or self-doubt. It's feeling those things, but doing it anyways. So every time I feel nervous or I feel insecure, I remind myself that the message in me is more important than the fear I feel.
Wow.
That's it. Because how dare I let an insecurity stop me from the potential of changing someone's life or even the potential of changing my own life. Yeah. Right? So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is I have no doubts, I have no fear. I just wake up in the morning and every day I feel fabulous. Absolutely not. I have days where I am crying and sobbing and I'm just like, gosh, where's my life going? Yeah. I've not reached any of the milestones I thought I would have by now. But again, that's comparison. Yeah. It's not actually me. It's my ego, right? And so I have those days that I'm just like, everything is miserable. I want to give up. Nobody cares. But then I'm like, hang on a second. Let's actually acknowledge what's going on here. Let's question it. Is this really the truth? Is this how you really feel? And as they say, never quit on a bad day, right? Yeah. So for me, I am human like everybody else. I have my fair share of insecurities like everybody else. I just don't let my insecurities stop me from doing what I know is important.
And I'm glad you haven't stopped because you have such a positive impact. And I think for a lot of people, we chase vanity metrics, we chase popularity, we chase that validation. But something that is so much more important than that is impact. Yeah. I think it's more powerful to impact the lives of 5 people and be known by just those 5 than to be known by 100,000 people and have no real positive impact in the world. And Yeah, it's interesting that you say people think that you have it all together, because I often fall victim to that as well. People often say to me that, oh, you have life figured out. And I'm like, girl, who told you that?
I know.
Who told you that?
No, we do not. We are
Yeah.
figuring it out just like everybody else. We
Yes.
question ourselves just like everybody else. But at the end of the day, when you're at a crossroad, what choice are you going to make?
Yeah.
Are you going to take the step that takes you closer to your dreams, or are you going to give into the self-sabotage and retreat?
Yeah.
I'm never going to let self-sabotage win. Never. That was the promise I made to myself at the beginning of this journey, and I try my best to keep it. Even if she does win sometimes, I will make sure that I come back stronger.
Yeah.
Because I like to send a message to my subconscious that, like, you can't win around here. Like, you can say whatever you want, right? But at the end of the day, like, I'm going to show up in my fullness, and I'm going to trust the greatness inside of me.
Yeah,
But it's a choice I have to make every single day.
That intentionality is such an important piece, because I think you're right. A lot of people want to be confident, and they're like, oh, I should just wake up one day, and when will it come, and when will I find confidence? Like, confidence doesn't come to you. You have to go and search for it, right?
Yes.
And another thing that I think is really important to mention, so many people find themselves in a similar position that you found yourself in, where they're thinking about, their insecurities, their worries and failures. But one thing that helped me personally with my confidence was acknowledging that the fear of regretting never trying was so much bigger in me than the fear of failure.
Yes.
Like, I know my personality. I get scared to do things all the time, to launch things, to start things. Like, even when we started this podcast, I remember being like, what if no one listens to it? Like, even my following aside, those were the thoughts that were entering my head. Like, what if no one watches it? What if no one listens to it? What if the production company are like, why did we even invest in this podcast? That was what I was thinking. And then I had to stop myself and be like, okay, what would upset me more? If I did it and no one watched it, or if I just
never did it.
And I was an old lady thinking, oh, I wish I had a podcast one day. I was like, nah, the feeling of never doing it.
The pain of regret is so much worse than the
God.
pain. That's something I also say as well. The pain of regret is so much worse than the pain of trying and failing, because at least you know you did it and you can learn.
Exactly.
Right? And I think it also comes down to people thinking that they need to be perfect in order to start things, in order to show up in life.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, it's our vulnerability that allows other people to connect with us.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure if you think about some of your most popular posts, it's when you've opened up about something. It's when you've been so raw and real and been vulnerable, and people love that.
Yeah.
So why, if you love to see vulnerability in other people, why do you feel like you have to show up perfectly?
I want to echo that statement so much, because you are 100% right, particularly when it comes to how women show up at work, right? Or when it comes to their projects, passion projects. I remember tweeting about a report. So Hewlett-Packard did a report that highlighted that women typically apply for jobs when they meet like 90 to 100% of the criteria.
Yeah.
For men, it was like 50 to 60% of the
60,
criteria.
yeah.
Women feel like we need to have all our shit together before we can do something, before we can start this project, before we can apply for this job. And I hope more women don't ascribe to that. I hope you're listening to Tiwa right now, because even in my case, the amount of people, when I was writing my books, the amount of people that were like, stop writing quotes. You're talking about relationships. You ain't even got a man. You ain't even married. And I was like, wait, Toni, must you? I almost stopped. I was like, do I need to acquire certain things before I start doing this thing I want to do? And I said, you know what? Who cares? I can talk based on previous experience, based on observation, based on research. I do not need to be in a perfect relationship to talk about relationships.
Yes.
And had I not, I wouldn't be where I am now. And it's the same for you and what you're doing. And on that topic, I want to ask you, how does confidence show up differently in women versus men?
Oh, yes. There's actually data on that there is a confidence gap between women and men.
Really?
Yeah. So from when we're younger, women internalize failure, which affects our confidence levels. And men just see failure as an event. So for example, they did a university study where they gave both male and female students very hard exams, okay? When the female students failed, they said, oh, I'm bad at this. They said, I am bad at this. When the male students failed, they said, why did the teacher make this exam so hard? Right? It was the situation that was difficult, not their own ability.
Why do you think they saw it differently? Why do women see
Because of our upbringing, girls are taught to be neat, to be tidy, like when you're a good girl, you do everything you're told exactly the way you're meant to do it. Yeah. And also the media we consume, right? Think of all the adverts you see. It's all perfect looking women with perfect looking hair and all of these things. Yeah. So I think it's just how women have been nurtured to think that they are the problem, because the marketing we consume, use this lipstick, then you'll be worthy. Yeah. Use this hair, then use this hairspray, then you will be worthy. Then men will love you. Right? So we grew up thinking that our worth is based on external situations. So any question of our external situation, anything that goes bad automatically becomes a reflection of our worth.
Wow.
So as women, that's why I said we need to stop internalizing failure and rejection as something being wrong with us. There is nothing wrong with you. Failure and rejection are an event. It's a start date and an end date.
Yeah.
Right? You experience failure. You can never be a failure. Can you see the difference?
Wait, say that one more time.
For the people listening. You experience failure. You can never be a failure. Failure has a start date and an end date, right? And after the end date, you can turn a new page and start a new chapter. You should never internalize failure as something being wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. And this is the number one thing I say to all my clients. You're not broken and you don't need fixing, right? As your confidence coach, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to wake you up to certain realizations that are going to help you overcome the challenges you're experiencing. But that's one of the biggest gap between men and women when it comes to confidence. The second one is when men introduce themselves. You will think, let's say, for example, there's a man and a woman and they're baking, right?
Yeah.
A man will say, I am the CEO of a multinational, multi-talented design baking organization that has 5 employees. Like they will paint a whole vivid picture.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a woman will go, "Oh, I just have this little business that I run from my
herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of my coaching clients, she was raising money with investors.
Yeah.
And one of the investors gave her feedback that she's not selling her business as passionately as she should be.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I don't want to overinflate anything. But it's like, that's what we're like, oh, I don't want to do too much. I don't want to overinflate. I started calling myself a globally recognized confidence coach with one client in South Africa and one client in Nigeria.
Technically,
you globally recognized. Global, right? Even though I only had 3 clients at the time that were probably only paying me £200 each, but it didn't matter. I said I'm a globally recognized confidence coach.
Yeah.
And I think as women, we should own our accomplishments and we should sit in it. You're not just some little business owner that happens to, no, right? Why are we doing that to ourselves?
Yeah.
We need to say who we are and say it with confidence. It's not boasting.
Yes.
It's not bragging. It's not arrogance.
You said that.
Yeah.
Because often they see confidence, and society often views confidence in women as arrogance, as being a diva, as being bitchy, as being whatever, when you're just assertive, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in men, it's, oh, he's confident, he's assertive, but she's big-headed, she's arrogant, she thinks too highly of herself. But I think if more women did listen to you and do that, we would normalize it. Yeah. I'm thinking of my sister when you said this, because I remember it wasn't even that long ago. This was like a couple months ago. I must have gone to an event and then someone asked me what I did. And I was like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm an influencer. My name's Toni, that's what I do. And then we walked away and my sister was like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
And I said, huh? And she's like, when people ask you about you, you're just like, oh, I'm an influencer. She's like, Toni, you're a Sunday Times best-selling content creator and author who's a public speaker. I didn't have the podcast at the time. She was like, but I hosted a podcast. She's like, you're an award-winning podcast. She's like, why do you just say I'm an influencer? She was like, you need to stop that.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, not
Put
you.
some respect on your name.
Yes,
that's
some
what she
respect
said.
on your name.
And I found myself doing that because I didn't want to seem big-headed. I didn't want to go into a room, list myself according to like everything I'm doing, which is an honest thing. and the things I've achieved and feel like, oh, people won't like me because I come across conceited, when actually I'm just stipulating a fact. I did XYZ. This is what I do. This is what people know me for. And if you global, it's a fact.
Yeah.
You're global.
And it's something we should all own. And I think another thing why women don't like to own their accomplishments or own their titles is because they're afraid of success.
Oh my God, I've talked about this too.
Really?
Please dig into this.
So another one of my, somebody I was mentoring through Virgin Startup, she said to me that she's a surgeon, right? But she doesn't introduce herself as a surgeon. Because when people think of surgeons, they expect somebody who is like, confident and focused and strong. And she was like, I don't identify with society's definition of a surgeon. And so it feels like too much pressure to say I'm a surgeon. And she said she's not the only one. So many women in the healthcare industry don't call themselves surgeons in public because they don't want people to perceive them in such a, well-respected way in case they mess up.
Wow.
Can you imagine? It's like you're so afraid of the pressure that might come with success that you would rather play small instead of actually stepping into your success and your accomplishments and believing that you have that inner greatness to own it. But instead, people are playing small because it's safer when you play small. It's safer in your comfort zone. But as we know, greatness is on the other side of your comfort zone.
Greatness is on the other side of your comfort zone. I completely agree. Mm-hmm. As a confidence coach, what do you think the most confident people that you know have in common?
Consistent action. That's it. Because when you try the first time, you suck. When you try the 10th time, it's like, it's getting better, but it's still uncomfortable. When you try the 100th time, it's like, oh, this is easy. This is a walk in the park. The most confident people I know is not about talent. It's about belief in themselves and consistent action. That's it. It's not about talent. It's not about talent. Think of Michael Jordan. He was actually cut from his basketball team in high school.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yes.
VMJ.
VMJ.
Mr. Number 23.
Yeah, everyone, the GOAT. Your GOAT was cut from his high school basketball team because he wasn't that good.
Wow.
But you know how he became the greatest? Through self-belief and practice.
Yeah.
And practice, right?
What are your top tips for anybody listening who desires to feel more confident across the board? If you had to give 5, what would they be?
Okay, so piggybacking off the last thing that we said, when you think of your future, fear is just a negative thought of something in the future that has not actually happened yet, right? So you're thinking, what if I fail? What if no one shows up to my event? What if no one listens to my podcast? None of those things have happened. You're going into your future and thinking of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So if you can go into your future in a scenario that you don't know what's actually going to happen and think of the worst case scenario, you have the same power of choice to go into your future and think of the best case scenario. Okay, so if you want to build confidence, every time you think of a negative outcome, a potentially negative outcome, I want you to think of 3 more positive potential outcomes.
Okay.
Right? Because why is it always the negative outcome that's going to happen? What if the best thing happens for you?
Yeah.
And you can lean into that. The second point is to understand the connection between your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Right? And this is why thinking of the positive possibilities is important, because your thoughts influence your feelings.
Yeah.
And your feelings influence the actions that you take or don't take. And so this is where procrastination comes in. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You're not lazy, okay? You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because you have negative thoughts and self-doubt that make you feel heavy, that make you feel overwhelmed, that make you feel like you are not the best person to be doing this task. And then as a result, you retreat.
Yeah.
But it's all down to the story in your head. So you got to remember, if you don't like, imagine if a song was playing on your playlist, right? And you didn't like the song. Would you just be like, oh, I guess I just have to listen to this song. There's nothing I can do.
You'd be like,
no, you'd be like, listen, if Taylor Swift comes, I'm like,
Taylor.
Sorry,
Taylor catches strings.
no hate to Taylor Swift fans, but just like if a song comes on that you don't like,
you do something about it.
You do something about it. But so many of us are stuck with songs in our head that we hate, and we're just playing that song over and over again. If you don't like the song in your head, change it. Okay.
Yeah.
Third thing I would do: track my wins. Confidence, self-belief, you need evidence.
Yes.
People are like, just believe in yourself. Okay, but like how? You have to keep evidence. And so on my website, confidentandkillingit.com, I have a free tool. It's a monthly wins tracker that every single month you can download, track your small wins and your big wins every single month. Because imposter syndrome is just temporary memory loss where you have forgotten
how good you
are. That's all imposter syndrome is. So when you go back and track your wins, you remind yourself, oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. Oh, I'm proud of myself. Yeah. It builds up your positive memories.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're like, oh, if I did it before, I can do it again. So number 4 would be to know your strengths.
Yeah.
Because one thing about confidence is the foundation to confidence is self-awareness. Think about it. How will you take action and believe in yourself if you don't even know who you are?
Yeah, or what you're good at. Yes.
How will you believe in yourself if you don't even know what's there? How will you think you're good enough if you don't even know what worth is inside of you, right? So what I always say to people is know your strengths. Don't go on Pinterest and print out positive affirmations and read that and think
you'll forget eventually.
Like that's what the internet is saying you should say about yourself. What do you want to say about yourself? Yes. So I got my journal when I first started my Confident and Killing It journey. I got my journal. I started to write my strengths. Number 1. Number 2, I asked my mom, what are my strengths? She told me, close friends, people you trust. Yeah. I reflected on myself. When have I been proud of myself? Okay, I did this, and this. What strengths did I demonstrate in that moment? I wrote it down. Yeah. Right? When I ask people to tell me what their strengths are, they're looking left, they're looking right, hoping the ground just opens up and swallows them. I'm like, honey, you need to know your strengths, because guess what? If you don't know your strengths, it means you know your insecurities more than you know your strengths. So every time you walk into the room, your lens in life is from a place of insecurity. Wow. It's from a place of lack.
Wow.
Yeah, because every time you walk into a room, you're like, oh, should I be here? Because you don't know who you are. And then the last thing to build confidence is to serve and help other people. Okay? That is one of that's how I discovered my purpose. I was stuck at a job that I hated. And I was like, there has to be more to my life than being stuck in a job that I hate. Let me volunteer as a youth leader.
Wow.
And as I did that, they were like, oh, wow. Like when I would speak to my youth, they would start crying. Like I was like, okay, wow, I have a gift here. Yeah. And that's how I nurtured my gifts, by serving others. So the best way to kind of figure out who you are, what you're good at doing, is to go out into the world and try things. So yeah, those are all my top tips.
Those tips are absolutely impeccable.
Thank you.
Tiwa, you have been an absolute star. Everyone watching, please buy the book, Confident and Killing It. It's absolutely amazing. It's thick, it's juicy, it's meaty. It's got like tangible things in there that you can
practical,
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, very practical, descriptive, all of that. And if people want to book you, because I'm listening to you now and I'm like, damn, I feel like I need to, do some work.
I got you, girl.
If people want to book you, where can they go?
Yes. So on my website, confidentandkillingit.com, you'll see everything there. You'll see the link to sign up for coaching. There's a wait list because, your girl's busy. But if you sign up from Toni's podcast, let me know. I'll help you skip the line maybe. But yeah, so on my website, confidentandkillingit.com, you'll find link to book coaching. You'll find link to book workshops. If you ever want a speaker for your events or at your company, that's also there as well. Link to my podcast and my book. And then on Instagram, I'm Tiwalola.
So we are at the end of the podcast, and I always finish up with some positive words. I'm going to keep it brief because I really want today's guest to share the chunk of the positive words, because you're absolutely smashing it. Confident and killing it.
Yes, girl,
absolutely smashing
thank
it.
You.
I think my positive words are just going to link back to, you know what? It's a TikTok that I saw. So there's a comedian called Kev on Stage, and he did a TikTok about a place in America. It's called Ralph's, and they do like chicken tenders. And he was talking about how people always say, oh, Ralph's, all they have is the sauce. People just love them for the sauce. Like the chicken ain't even that good. It's just the sauce. And then he was like, yeah, even I go to Ralph's just for the sauce. And then it made him think of something. And he thought about the fact that, you know what? yeah, they got the sauce. Like, that's all they need. They got the sauce. Like, people come there for the sauce and it's enough. And I was like, oh my God, I love the way he did that. But it made me think about the fact that you might feel like, okay, I'm good at this one thing, or I have this one strength, or I'm not unique. There's not much that I am great at apart from this one thing. But sometimes all it takes is one thing. Literally, sometimes all it takes is one thing. And that one thing will unlock another thing and unlock another thing and unlock another thing. So I don't want you to leave this episode feeling like, okay, I need to do 1,000,001 things and take action on 1,000,001 things and be intentional about 1,000,001 things. Take every day as it comes, one step at a time, and focus on one thing. Focus on just one thing, and I guarantee it will make such a big difference in your life.
My words of positivity, words of wisdom, I think it goes back to the fundamental thought that fundamental belief actually, that you matter simply because you exist. Because so many of us disqualify ourselves because we don't feel good enough, because we don't tick all the boxes. We disqualify ourselves from opportunities. We booed ourselves off the stage before we've even got on the stage, you know? Yeah. So realize that your starting place is good enough. Just as you are, the fact that you're here, you're breathing, you're alive means that you matter. And so you are on a journey to growing and evolving, right? And so your starting point doesn't need to be perfect, right? You can perfect the journey, but you've got to start with something. Because you can't even perfect thin air, right? You have to create something. You have to show up. You have to believe that you are good enough to get started. And then as you do, you grow and you evolve. So stop tying your sense of validation to other people, right? You have to validate yourself. When people don't want to give you a chance, give yourself a chance. When people don't want to bet on you, bet on yourself. When people don't want to give you opportunities, create your own opportunities. Use what you have in your hands and create your own opportunities. Because at the end of the day, your life is a summation of the choices that you make. And at every given moment, you are either making choices that move you forward or choices that take you back. And one last thing I want to say is I heard a quote recently that says, when we're all born, we're born unique, but 90% of us will die as a copy of somebody else.
Wow.
Yeah. Take that in for a moment, right? When you are looking for external validation, when you are comparing yourself to other people, you are turning yourself into a copy of somebody else, but you are not born to be a copy of somebody else. Right? You are unique in your own way and you matter. You are worthy simply because you're alive. So move with that energy.
You smashed it. And on that note, you have been an amazing guest.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. We have to get you on again.
Yes.
For everyone listening, please subscribe wherever you're listening from. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Toni Told Me Pod. If you love the episode, please drop a comment or drop a tweet or any other thread. I don't know, what is it? Blue Sky message, whatever post it is. So many different written platforms now using the hashtag Toni Told Me. Bye, guys.